Counting the.
Cause of life unexpected injuries.
Wow, JD, what happened to you?
Well, I've shared my story several times. Um, I I was in the military. I left the military around 2003. I became a civilian once again in the United States and um, decided to go back to school. I went back to school, but I needed a job. And so I found a job at a foster home. And about maybe a week in, working with young boys that had no fathers and had no guardian of any sort. One of the boys there, two boys rather, got into a fight. I can't tell you what the fight was over or about. But I remember I was there sitting down contemplating. In the morning I have a devotion that I do each morning, just to get myself ready for the day. And I remember doing that. Got up, I decided that day, they'd asked me to cook for them the day before. And so I brought all the ingredients and I brought them to the kitchen and left them there. Went into the dining area, did my what I call the gearing up for the day um, moment, devotion moment, and I left that area because the one thing about me is that I don't like to break a fight because I know that fights can pull you in and you can get injured as well. And so one of the other counselors were handling it, and so I walked into the kitchen, and one of the boys decided to come into the kitchen to put away his cereal bowl, um, and the other boy came behind me. So one was in front of me about maybe around um, maybe 2, 3 yards in front of me, about a yard in front of me, um, and the other boy was about a foot behind me. Um, and the when the boy that was in front of me saw the other young man that was behind me, he took the very porcelain bowl that he was eating out of, or cereal bowl that he was eating out of, and threw it at him with all of his strength.
Wow.
But instead of hitting the boy behind me, it hit me right in my eye.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So, how did you cope with the pain and stress and disappointment and frustration and anger, all these things?
Well, the pain and stress really. Well, let me just go back a little bit. I had just gotten out of the military. In fact, I had just gotten from a war zone. Um, you know, most people who've been in the military and have been in units that they are trained to, really you train to kill. That is the reason for the military, for the army, and the unit that I was in. We were we were specifically trained for war. That is our one mission. Our one goal was to be trained for war, and we had to be anywhere in the world in 82 hours or less. And so I had just left my unit. I had just gotten out of the army. Had just gotten out of a war zone, and here I am living my civilian world. I think I was only maybe around 6 months out of the army, and so I came back without a scratch. I went back to the United States without a scratch, and
That's
so
crazy.
it's something to celebrate. You see your buddies hurt, injured, killed, even, and so you kind of celebrate the fact, oh, you're mentally whole, you're physically whole. There's no bullet holes in you, and so you're excited. But and you're there fighting men, grown machine guns and all that stuff. And here it is that a boy came with a porcelain bowl, and I just looked up, just raised my head, and hit me in my eye, and I lost my vision. The doctor said immediately. How do I cope with that? That's a tough question, because at first, I'm a very, just to put things in perspective, I'm a very, I don't want to call myself, I'm not religious. I'm a very spiritual person. I have a set of codes that I go by, and that's how I conduct myself. In the military, that's the way I conducted myself as well. And so this code doesn't leave me. You're trained to kill, but the code is still there. And so the idea of leaving a war zone, this reason why I told the story, JWA, is because when you leave a place where anything could have happened, death or injury, and you come back to the land that you fought for, and some kid who, and again, still feel sorry for the kid because he had no father figure, no mother in the home. He had no one. Takes a porcelain bowl, a cereal bowl, and you're just in the path of, where he's trying to throw it, and you, excuse the word, recipient of that. You intercept it with your body. Not that I tried to, and in a war zone you're safe, and in safety ground you get injured. It causes you. There's a mental disposition that takes place. There's a shift that takes place, and yes, I was very angry. Coming to the question, I was upset. I got depressed. Even I was angry. And so that emotion came about. I had to get 2 different surgeries, and both doctors said, there's nothing that can happen. You lost your sight. And so the idea that I lost my sight was depressing. So I went from anger to depression to anger again, and to depression again, and it kept on. The cycle kept on going.
Wow. So how long were you in the military service, and how long did it take for you to come out of that condition?
It's funny enough. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or maybe it's still taking a toll. So how long were you only in the military? How long did it take for you to actually come back to normalcy?
Mm-hmm. So I was in the military. I was still in the military actually, but I was a reserve. I came out of the military to complete my bachelor's degree because I was going back into my unit. In fact, I was going into a different part of the military, and the only way I could get into that unit was to get out of active duty, to finish my college degree, so that I can get into this unit. And so I was 4 years active at that point, and I was serving as a Army Reserve. And so I was still there, but as a reserve. How long did it take me to get over it? Maybe eternity. I don't think I'm fully over it as yet, because every now and again, especially me being back in school again, there's more to the story if you don't mind me sharing a little bit more. The reason why I said maybe eternity is simply because of this. After getting injured in my left eye, I found out that I have a disease in my right eye. And this is not a common disease. This is, in fact, it's a brand new disease that people are just, scientists are just acknowledging that it's there, and so there's no cure for it. It's called Stargardt disease. It's where the retina of your eye, the center of my eye, of my retina, has a black spot on it. So when I'm looking at the individual, I don't see them directly. I have to kind of scan the face. When I read, it does not permit me to read fluently. I'm a very choppy reader, so I went from being fluent reader to a choppy reader because I cannot see words. My font size that I read at, it has to be between 36 to 48 font size, and even at that with that size, I'm still scanning, and because of the font size now, then I have to look at word for word because the words are too big now, and so it I'm not angry anymore, and I'm not depressed anymore, but it's a disposition now of what's the emotional word that I'm looking for? It's more of a um, I guess there's no emotional word, but there is a sense of discomfort, uncomfortable feeling when I read around people, uncomfortable when I read by myself, because I know that I could when I was able to read, I was a more fluent reader. Now that I'm reading so choppy, and I sound like a child that's just learning how to read.
Mm.
So yes, to answer your question, I went from depression, anger to depression, and now I'm in a stage of just discomfort from reading.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great because some people never get out of it. And do you
Hmm.
remember how the each phase turned out to the next phase, and the next phase turned out to another phase? Do you remember the turning point in your way to cope with, as you said, spiritually?
Hmm. Yes, I remember because of the events, not because I remember the stages, but because of the events that transpired. So I was dating this young lady when it happened. Um, I just met her. She's a beautiful young lady. I was dating her maybe 4 months before it happened, 4 or 5 months before, and you know, beautiful young lady, and anyone in my school at that time, would have been just happy, over the moon, just to be dating this young lady. She's gorgeous, and when I got injured, I called her, and she went through the whole thing with me. And after a while, after you look at yourself in the mirror and you see the my eye kind of cocks to the side a little bit, and you look at yourself and you realize that your looks. I'm getting I'm getting a little bit more. What's what I'm looking for? More physical, looking at the physicality of the individual. When you see your looks is not as it used to be, it gets you angry, right? So I broke up with her, because I was saving myself the embarrassment of her breaking up with me because of my my looks. Um, but she would not have it,
Oh.
and so she told mom. So in a sense, she set her mom on me, and so her mother called me and pretty much said, "How dare you break up with my daughter? Get your butt over here and come talk to this girl." And so I went over there, and I talked with her, and later on she became my wife.
Wow.
She stayed with me, but the events before that, um, following that breakup, was I was called back to the military. I was called back. I was called to go to another war zone as a reserve. I thought that all the hard work or hard labor was over because I was out of this unit that 82nd Airborne Infantry unit that I was in. I was now no longer connected with that, and so I was like, there's no way they're gonna call me back for war. See why they called me back December 25th, 24th. And I remember standing in line, going through the whole event of getting myself ready for war, another war zone. And I try to plead my case to the medics, telling them I am blind, I cannot see. I cannot see. This is right before I went back. Went to grad school. Right before I went to grad school, I was still in undergrad. I said I cannot see. There's no way I can go to back to war. And I said I just came back from one place, and there's no way that I can do it again because I'm blind. It's not that I'm trying to sham my duty or try to run away from my duty, but I just don't want to get killed in a war. And so the lieutenant would not hear it, and so I made my appeal to a higher rank, and the lieutenant colonel told me at that time, "I need you to call me tomorrow. We're going to look at what needs to be done." And so I called the next day, and I spoke with her, and she said, "You don't have to show up. You don't have to come. You have been medically excused." And so they medically just discharged me from the reserve unit. So those are the events, major events. Then I went to school, to grad school, and then I struggle with seeing things, reading things, seeing the board, so I recorded everything, and so I remember one time I was being asked to read in class. So I pretend a lot when I was in grad school. I have a book in front of me. I can hardly see, but I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of my peers, and so I don't want to pull out my magnifying glass to look at the words. And so I just stared at the book, pretending like I was reading. But the teacher called on me to read in class, and it was the most embarrassing moment ever because I would read the cat ran, and that's how I was reading, very choppy. And when I get nervous, I start sweating, and so I would my bald head was just perspiring, just sweat was just running down my face. And I guess the professor at the time recognized something was going on, and so instead of allowing me to read the full paragraph, he said okay, and then moved on to somebody else. But I can feel all the students' eyes on me, and I was so afraid to just look up, or to look back. All my good friends were in the class, and they all knew what happened. They all knew that I just got injured, but they did not know about my Stargardt. But they knew that something was wrong, and no one said anything to me up until this day. No one said anything to me, but it's my insecurity with it all. And so yes, when I was in undergrad, same thing happened. So the anger moved and led to depression when I realized that I had to read in front of my peers. Here I am in undergrad at first, and it sounds as if I cannot read. Then here it is that depression. That's when depression set in. Breaking up with my girlfriend at the time, more deeper depression. But then it bounced back because I have to now deal with my girlfriend again because I had to apologize to her and say, listen, I'm sorry. I just felt insecure about myself, and I did not want to date you. I did not want you to break up with me, and so I wanted to break it off before you break it off with me. And so she really said, pretty much, boy, you're an idiot. I love you. I love you. And so she pushed me to drive because I had this race car. When you have a little bit of money, you splurge. And so I bought this car, and so I was driving. But after I got injured, I would not drive because I was so afraid to drive on the road. And so she pushed me to continue driving. So I went from that point of depression to deeper depression when I told her I couldn't drive because she was driving my car at that time, and she pushed me to drive, and my confidence was building back up. Then when I went to grad school, or when I went to the military, when they called me back for active uh, war zone duty, the depression came back again. So you can see the ebb and flow. Just the good things happen, the bad things happen, good things happen. And so when I went to Andrews, I got into Andrews. That was a good thing. When I got to Andrews, I was missing one class, depression. I got into Andrews, then they asked me to read. So it's like an ebb and flow. Everything was going up and down for me. And so, it was very hard. And so when I got found out that my other eye was had a disease in it, uncurable disease that caused me not to be able to see properly, then that's another thing. I would walk into the store, Jaywalk, and I would bump into people or knock things over because I just couldn't see it. People would be saying hi to me, or they would tell me, I saw you in the store the other day. We said hi, but you didn't say anything to us. You know, I didn't see you. So that happens. Most recently, when I was a pastor. For those of you watching, in Colorado, I remember bumping into some of my friends from the church. They watched me in the store. I walked right up to them and did not notice who they were. And I was looking at them and I was like, why are these two people staring at me? I was like, why are they staring at me? And so I walked closer just to catch a glimpse of who they were. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they were like, we just want to see how close you had to get to us to recognize who we were. So those things, and it was, it can become very embarrassing, but I learned how to laugh things off. I learned first of all to tell on myself, so that I can take off the pressure off of me, and allowing people to know that yeah, I'm injured. I'm not asking for pity. I'm just wanting people not to put more on me than I can handle, because I know how much I can handle. I
Mm.
don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, that's how it went for me. It's the ebb and flow. And so even now, I still deal with it. I don't get too depressed. I don't get down and in that depression. But every now and again, I get a little bit depressed when I want to read a good book. I love paperback book. I can't read a paperback book.
Mm.
I have to depend on the my devices. Yeah. So I get a little bit depressed when I have to ask my professors. Can you blow it up a little bit more for me? It's embarrassing.
I see.
So I don't like pity. I don't like being pitied. And so that's what makes it so embarrassing.
Actually, it a little bit puzzles me because when I saw you and talked to you and interacted with you, I didn't really notice too much challenge that you're going through. I thought you could
Mhm.
read just fine, interact with people just fine, preach just fine, talk to people just fine, take care of your daughter, take care of your children, talk to your children, all these things. So I didn't really notice too much challenged visibly. But I guess whatever when you said you lost your vision and the other eye, I guess it seems to be more severe
Mhm.
than what observers see those people around you.
Mhm.
Um, I have another question. So there was a time when you didn't want to let how you are be presented in a way that is in the way that is really is. You
Mhm.
wanted to pretend, you wanted to be somebody that you're not, or do something that you're not capable of sometimes. And I noticed my mom was also doing it. My mom is a widow, and when neighbors asks her a question, "Where's your husband?" My mom would say, "Oh, he went abroad, and he's doing all
Mhm.
these things." And because she doesn't want to be seen weak, she doesn't want to be noticed as somebody that needs pity and all these things.
Mhm.
I don't know if she got over with it or not, but when did you come to a point where you actually said, okay, I'm not going to pretend anymore. I'm just going to embrace who I am and what I have become, and let that become part of of myself, and I'm not going to, I guess, lie in a sense.
Hmm.
Like, did you come to that breaking point at one point?
So, um, this is a funny story. I did. Um, the thing is that my professors at I went to school called Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, in the states. Um, and so my professors knew me. One of my mentors, Professor James Doggett. We played basketball together, and I was a very very good basketball player. Um, I could shoot well. I can jump well. I can do more than I'm 5'8". I don't know how you quantify that into
Centimeters.
yeah, but I'm not very tall, but I can jump very high. And I played basketball for so long that it was the my pastime. And so I remember other people that asked me to come play basketball, and I could not see the ball coming at me.
Wow.
When people would throw the ball towards me, I could not see the ball coming at me. And
Wow.
so I realized that I'm limited.
Mm.
I have a limitation.
Mm.
You throw the ball towards my face, it would hit me right in my face.
Mm.
And I had to stop playing basketball.
Mm.
Um, I remember I was like, I can't do this anymore. I had to stop pretending like I can do the things that I used to be able to do. They offered me, they told me that I can wear a fake eye that would look like my other eye, just a cap that would put it over there, and people would never know, and so I tried it on. I tried it for a few days. I'm like, that's not me. I mean, I can't do it. I cannot do it.
That's-
And I said to myself, and I told my wife, I said, my friends are my friends. If you love me, you're gonna love me with my crooked eye. And that's it. I mean, that's just the reality of it. If you're gonna love me with my cocked eye or my crooked eye, or how you want to say it. And not, it's not good to be um, fake, because the cover eye will come out had to come out one day, and I used to play tricks with my I kept it for years. I kept that eye cover for years, and I would put it on my forehead and just close my eyes, and people would come and see that thing on my forehead. But that's not me. I believe that if you're gonna love me, and you can't love me if you don't know who I am really. And so I can pretend, but to what extent do I stop the pretending? At what point are you gonna find out that this is a cover and not my real eye?
Mm.
And so for me it wasn't long after. It wasn't years. It was really months,
Wow.
because I was in an environment where everyone knew what happened to me.
I see.
Everyone at the church, this church school there was praying for me, or sending good thoughts for me, however you want to phrase it. But
Mm.
I was on everyone's mind, and everyone wanted to make sure that I was doing well. And so to go back to school with perfect eye, they're like, "Oh wow, your eye's healed." No, it is it's something that I did maybe around 6 months to maybe a year into my eye being healed. I said I would not wear this cap. I would not wear this cover. If you're gonna love me, you gotta love me with my crooked eye.
Wow.
You know, I mean that sounds like a book right there. If you're gonna love me, you gotta love me with my crooked eye. No, that is really what I said.
Wow, actually, that's a very beautiful concept. The fact that
Mhm.
your identity, maybe your physical identity, the person that you are, could have been could have shifted a little bit in terms of the
Mhm.
way you relate to people, the way other people relate to you could have a little bit shifted, but
Mhm.
you pretty much figured out how to live with the physical limitations because myself also have very weak eyes when I look at the screen too much. My
Mhm.
eyes get very sore, so I usually don't look at the screen too much. I usually just listen to things, and I can I can't just do the ebook or typing
Mhm.
too much. So I also have the challenge. So I just tend to
Mhm.
go outside and more and do more outdoor activities. And so I totally understand how uncomfortable it is to have challenges in your eyes. I have another
Mhm.
question about your relationship with your wife. So it sounded like the best remedy for you in your coping with the new challenges was your wife's your girlfriend's dedication and commitment to you,
Mhm.
because that's the first thing that you mentioned when you were talking about how you dealt with it. So what did it look like? Her struggle, her acceptance, her patience and perseverance to stay with you and all these things.
Um, you know, everything for me is a story. I love stories. That's a, you know, the perseverance and the dedication came easy for her because her disposition is loyalty.
Wow.
She's a very loyal person. You know, she is um, her family. Let me just start with her family. Her family loved me. You
Wow.
know, at that time, her grandmother was alive, and her great grandmother was alive, and so she had asked me to go down with her, her aunt, her uncle, to go and their grandmother to go and visit her great grandmother. We call her Mama. And I remember when Mama saw me, you know, I had to go down and help. We were trying to move her, and you know, she lived in. We were in Alabama, Hunter, Alabama, and they were living in Ohio. Maybe around I don't remember, the 8 hour drive. I don't remember, but we drove there to help her um, to move. Um, I don't know exactly what it was, or she had an appointment. I don't remember what it was. But I had to help her, myself and his uncle helped her move, and I had a chance to sit with Mama, and you know, we talked briefly, not long, but I remember her. You know, her and Grandma and his grandmother spoke after, and she came out and said told Anna, "Don't let him go. That's a good one." And you know, and so both grandma, great grandmother, mama, and his uncles and his auntie, and his mom, all of them loved me.
Wow.
You know, and that helps a lot.
Wow.
You know, it
That's
helps
powerful.
when the entire family is involved in your relationship. You know, I do family counseling and marital counseling as when I used to pastor in my city, and you know, not you don't have that support all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but when you have that support, it is a mighty big part.
Wow.
You know, and so she took that to heart, and so her dedication, her devotion was multiplied. And so you know, if I needed to go someplace, this is when I didn't have the confidence to drive. She would take me there, or she'd bring food for me to my home, and you know, she would, I gave, you know, told her she can drive my car. She'd come and pick me up, and you know, things like that. Um, but more than that, the major thing for me was when she pushed me to drive again. No, she pushed me to drive again. She pushed me. She was there when the military called me back. She went through the whole process with me of signing all these documents. To me going to hazardous area, danger zone, war zone, all these things. And I had to sign them, and she was right there. So the idea of having a devoted wife, it's bar none. It is beyond. It is beyond anything a man could ever ask for. I hear
Wow.
people say, and I never knock them. I have the best wife in the world. Yeah, you do. You know, that's your wife. You know, but on a scale of 1 to 10, my wife against any other person's wife, my wife is.
That's very true. That's very true. I agree
you
with you.
know, because when you think about it, Joel, when you really think about it, how many wives or girlfriend, not even wife, how many girlfriends
That's true.
um, would have stand behind? There are lots of handsome,
Yeah.
good-looking men
Yeah.
that was wanted to quote my wife, wanted to date my wife, wanted to marry my wife.
Wow.
My girlfriend at the time. And she stayed with me, and
Wow.
not out of pity, but really truly out of love.
Wow.
Not just based on looks, because I knew that I was the best looking guy on campus,
Mm.
but she loved me,
Wow.
and she I don't have the physical the facial look, and so I had to keep my body in shape so that she can say I love my husband's body, something
Wow.
and not just oh, I'm in love with my husband because he's my husband. I do things still to show that I still love my wife and I still care for my wife because of the devotion she had to me. Even when I gave her the room to leave, to run, she could have taken that and left and never looked back.
Wow.
Because she didn't owe me anything. We weren't even in a relationship a year at that point. I don't even think we were in the relationship half a year. Oh, maybe we were. But she didn't owe me anything. And so her wanting to stay, her looking at me as if I was a whole person and not a broken person, made me even more secure in her love and about me being a man who can do anything.
Wow.
Even though I couldn't say a single thing at a time, I
Wow.
was secure.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really amazing how her love and dedication just really helped you be established in your
yeah.
identity and self-esteem and all these things and your self-value. That's
Hmm.
really remarkable. Um, I have a last question here. Um, in my experience, my father passed away when I was in high school from cancer.
Hmm.
So that made me extremely lonely and very sad and depressed and angry and bitter, all these things. But that also made me become very spiritual, very dedicated to the Bible or to loving people, to taking care of people or ministries or helping people. And I noticed not everybody has that kind of inclination when it comes to spiritual things, when it comes to philanthropic things, any selfless activities. So I see that now as an advantage. I don't get sad easily. I don't get discouraged easily. So what is the advantage of being visually challenged?
Visual challenge. What's the advantage? That's a turnaround question. I thought you would ask what's the disadvantage, but what's the advantage? Um, I think the advantage that you have, one of the big advantages for me is when you have this vision loss, you see things clearer. Does that make sense? It makes no sense to some people, but it makes a lot of sense to me. You are more again. I talk about friendship. you're kinder. Because again, I still drive. I don't drive in Korea because I don't know if they'll give me a license because in the U.S. they have um, specialized eye doctors that can test you and see, listen, he can still drive. He just does not see shapes and sizes well. He does not, you know, you can't see an A. If you put an A or a number up in front of me, I won't be able to see it because everything looks like a stick. I gotta get really close to it. Um, but he can see a person who's moving, so I can still drive. And so when I'm on the road and people are honking at me because maybe I didn't see the light immediately change, I become more sympathetic to people who are driving.
Mm.
That's one thing. I become more sympathetic towards those who are injured. I become more sympathetic to those who are going through things. I think I told you I'm doing my PhD here, um, and my PhD in behavioral addiction science. Um, and what the first thing that got me into it was because of my own upbringing. You talk about your father, that and I've heard you tell the story before. Um, you losing your father at an early age. Well, I still have my father, but my relationship with my father is not as strong. It's repairing. That's another story for another day. If I told you how I was brought up, you wouldn't believe it. I was brought up on the rough side
Wow.
of the mountain. I grew up in a hard place to live.
Wow.
Most of my friends from fifth grade are either in prison or killed.
Wow.
And so the idea of me being the way I am right now, I shouldn't be, Jawad. I shouldn't
Wow.
be a kind-hearted person. I shouldn't be, and then going to the military and going to war and seeing death. And if I tell you the things I've seen, it's hard to talk about it now. I don't talk about it much. If I tell you the things I've seen in a war, it shouldn't make me callous towards people. But
Wow.
it was not long after I left the military that I got injured, and I'm able to see things so much clearer than if I had two eyes. And so I'm just grateful, that I can, help people who are in need of help. I like to help out at the VA. I like to help out those who are struggling with um, with family issues. I like to help out people who are struggling with just problems in general, because I'm able to see them now. I'm able um, to be able to walk with them, um, as they journey along. More compassionate now, more so now than before my injury. And it's funny, that question is a very powerful question because I've never really looked at it from that perspective. Um, the benefits of being
Yeah.
um, injured.
Mhm.
Um, so it's a question, but I appreciate the question,
Mhm.
because in truth, I really didn't know how to answer it. But when I started talking, I realized that's true. I can see clearer.
Yep.
I can see clearer.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I totally understand how much you must have been traumatized in your upbringing and all these physical limitations and all these emotional just challenges because I also came from a very difficult place. But when I look back, I got lots of stories to tell, and I have been able to inspire a lot of people with my stories. So I think when we do overcome, I think it ends up becoming a good thing. So I feel
Yeah.
good asking you that question. I feel good listening to your story, and I feel good sharing my story. And I was going to talk to you for 20 minutes, but your story was so fascinating and intriguing, so I kept asking you more questions. And so it was really great to talk to you, and I'm pretty sure you can inspire more people that are going through a lot of life challenges, especially the physical ones. And I'm very thankful that you have shared your story.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. If you can let me permit me to say one more thing, to those who are going through something, don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid. Um, I've learned that everyone, JY, has a something that they're not pleased with when it comes to themselves. Don't cover it up. Don't hide it. Step out and show the world that you're bold and beautiful. The world may not see you as such, but they will respect you for
Mm.
doing that. And
Mm.
so, if people can love you with my cockeye, I call it, they will love you with your limp walk, with your bald head. I have it all bald head, with your half a ear, or with your clip lip, whatever disformity that you're having and you're hiding. Don't hide it anymore.
Mm.
Just be who you are,
Wow.
and make a difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So would you say your injury didn't ruin your self-esteem? It rather elevated to a certain extent?
Yes, it did. I would say that it took the dip. It took a toll on it at first, but it made me a better person, and my
Wow.
self-esteem has grown because of that.
That's
I can
beautiful.
walk boldly now. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for living a beautiful life so that you can tell a beautiful story.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Jero, for
Yep.
this time.
I'll catch up with you again for our next project.
Yes. All right.
Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.